All right, listen. I'm not gonna try to make this make sense. I'm just gonna read this chapter from my novel. This one I did not put on Facebook yet, but I'm gonna just read it because it'll make more sense if I read it. As I said on the other channel, there are things in Freemasonry for which there are no words. You cannot explain it to people. So, so what I've done is in my novel that is almost finished. Uh, I've tried to, in story form, put these things to words. Okay. So what I'm going to do is just read it to you, and it'll make more sense. The novel is not ready yet. It will be very soon. I'm working on the final draft. You ready? We ready? We good? Can you hear me all right? Daylight. Rex walked in a sugarcane field. Spanish and Asian workers were cutting the stalks and putting them in a truck. He says, after demonstrating the sophistication of the murders, anyone believing slaves on a plantation acted alone in this, they just don't understand the level of absolute, and I mean precise, movements that were made in an ornate game of chess. I wrote this 3 years ago. So you can imagine how QAnon really, really interests me. In an ornate game of chess, we are dealing with a master craftsman. Our craftsmen. The master craftsmen are craftsmen of the highest level of intelligence and cunning. Now, Rex is in a library of the Yoke. That's the mansion they're at. A sexton upright and on a stand near a globe. A map on a table. Books are on its corners holding it down. A gold square and compass lay over New Orleans. This cup, he says, sitting in this exact spot, is where it was on the day Val died. There's fresh coffee in it, and in 3 hours or so it'll be replaced with fresh again. This must be observed by the daytime tour staff as part of the agreement with Val's widow, Alexandria Moreau. The name of this novel is The Dark Tour Company. It's about a tour guide company that brings everybody on a dark tour. They tell of the bad things that happen. A fresh cup of coffee in the morning, on the desk to the right of the map. The aroma calling her, calling Louise, the ghost. Legend has it, she loved coffee. An old lady dressed in period clothes, like in Gone with the Wind. She said, supposedly Alex, Val's wife, she'd sit here and have her coffee, and Louise would appear to her. And it was here Alex found solace in trying to solve the jigsaw puzzle of her husband's family curse. Rex appeared at the opposite end of massive bookshelves. Or was this, he said, supposed curse more like he held his fingers up in peace signs for, quote, a family feud. He said, she said kind of thing, all because of, he raised his eyebrows, mimicking a child. Something really bad went down. Now at the table with the map, he picked up the square and compass, speaking while examining them. What if we are dealing with master speculative builders? What's that, you ask? He gently set the tools back in their eternal resting place. In the dramatic pause, Rex fidgeted with his tie and craned his neck. He froze. Listen to me very carefully here. Listen. It's rearranging the pieces in life, like on a board game, to mimic the creation. The lines of longitude and latitude, measured in degrees and days, names of streets, buildings, people. Rex shifted into snobbery, flaming, holding up his pointing finger. He said, etc., etc., etc. He shifted to serious. What if this practice, this rearranging, or better yet, the orchestration, listen to me, the orchestration of circumstance. Very important. Very important that you understand what I'm saying. The orchestration of circumstance. Have you ever thought about that? Have you ever thought about the orchestration of circumstance? You say, well, circumstances is there's no rhyme or reason to circumstance. It cannot be orchestrated. It can be orchestrated for you by other people. The Democrats do that, ladies and gentlemen. FDR did that. He did that with the Dust Bowl. He did that with the crash of the stock market, which ushered in the New Deal. And it's happening right now. The orchestration of circumstance. Anonymous 80 says, nothing is ever circumstance or coincidence. Correct, but in the mind of the sleeping ones. To them, it's circumstance. What if this practice, this rearranging, or better yet, the orchestration of circumstance, what if this qualifies as the perpetrator's MO, the modus operandi? Because they, and we know logically, we are not looking at a single perpetrator. He or she would be 120 years old. What if they are acting on these zodiac signs after the fact as homage? Listen to me very carefully. What if they are acting on zodiacal signs after the fact as homage or possibly obedience to their god or to a priest? Rex stopped walking and peered. The camera shot close to his face. Or to a king. Or to a king. And then we know the king of the Knights Templar, the king of Masons, the king of the Illuminati, the king of humanists, the king of the Democrat Party. Who is it? What is it? It is Satan. Who is the king? The king is the father of Cain. I'll continue with the story. To prevent any chance of bad press and be labeled racist, the producer chooses to use Brennan in this scene. Brennan he's Haitian, he's a mulatto man, he's black. He's walking amongst giant oak limbs that snake in and out of the ground around him. This is classic Haitian Caribbean masonry through and through. All right, you got to understand that in New Orleans, masonry shaped New Orleans. The voodoo that was in New Orleans at the time of the slaves, at the beginning of the end of the 1800s and the beginning of the 1900s. This is classic Haitian voodoo Freemasonry. Freemasonry is world wide. And it takes on the form of whatever people group that they want to manipulate. If they want to manipulate Muslims, they take on the religion of the Muslims. If they want to manipulate Christians, they take on the form of Christianity. Wherever they are, wherever they go, that's what they do. And it is used to control people. This is classic Haitian Caribbean masonry through and through. He held out his hands. A translucent green zodiac appeared. He walked slow, the oak disappearing in the dark behind him. The Haitian zodiacal chart has 12 houses that are based upon 12 quadrants, if you will, of the heavens. In the graphic, a circle appeared. He narrated, "The earth passes through these quadrants on its way around the sun." The graphic rotated. Brennan now stood inside a three-dimensional upright cylindrical scroll, the zodiac. Two balls rotated inside of the circle and around Brennan. One of the balls was smaller. He says, "These represent the earth and the moon. Imagine that I am the sun. Notice, when the earth comes back around, it's not in the same place. The rotation of the earth and moon." Oh, wait, I'm sorry. The rotation of the balls sped with a blurring trail to show the change. That's called the elliptic pole. It's the invisible path the earth takes when it orbits around the sun. And there are two of them, north and south. The north ecliptic pole is in the zodiacal sign Draco, or the dragon. This is how we determine which mansion or house or quadrant each heavenly body is in. I doubt our killers are stargazers, but I don't doubt they'd watch the zodiac. On the screen, there is a mother and father watching television with their children. Listen to me very carefully. On the screen, there is a mother and father watching television with their children. It is as if they are in a trance. It's as if they are in a trance. Rex speaks now. He is faded into the shot. "We have been," he paused, scrunching his eyebrows, and then smiling, he said, "You see, if I say programmed, you'll think I'm crazy, so I'll say raised. It's the same thing." He closed his eyes and leaned his head back, inhaling through his nose. "You have been raised to associate witchcraft with an ugly old woman drinking urine and tears. You can thank Disney for that." Brennan joins Rex. People are driving by me going, "What the heck is he doing?" Because I'm talking loud. Brennan joins Rex. Brennan, the two characters join each other. His large lips made strange movements when he spoke. You've probably seen it. Old men and women, former one-hit wonder boys and girls who failed in the music business. So now they travel from church to church, all to play records backwards to scare the youth. Images of album covers from the 60s and 70s faded in and out. It was always the Beatles, "Turn Me On, Dead Man," or the Eagles album cover. The Hotel California cover was really the Church of Satan. Remember that? The high priest with his long hair hanging from the balcony. Scary. It was always so scary. Rex stepped forward, raised his hand even with his shoulders, gesturing, surrendering, then let them fall. He said, "The old women never showed us the deception in the beautiful, ladies and gentlemen." Did you hear what I just said? The old women never ever showed us. They never showed us the beautiful, the deception in the beautiful. They always showed us the scary things, the ugly things. But folks, Satan is an angel of light. He is beautiful. Satan is not going to come to you in an evil, devil horned looking creature. He's going to come to you as the most beautiful thing you've ever seen, and you will be weak. You will be tempted by the beauty. And now we are all so blind to the deception around us. You see, a con artist is an expert at thinking on their toes with lightning fast response times, always adapting to subtle nuances in the target's mannerisms and the words that indicate to the grifter which direction to move the target in to achieve finality, the goal. To achieve finality, the goal. The scene changes. Rex walked in the graveyard, hair silvery gray and Caesar cut. He's wearing a slim fit, black tailored suit with pointy shoes. Remember, this is about control, mind control. So discovering the MO of 120 years of killers can prove to be very difficult. And until you have studied the signs and symbols as I have, you will never understand it. So here, let me show you. Looking through his eyes, he is floating into and through the mansion. French doors open. There are carpets and chandeliers. He speaks. Listen to me carefully. This is so important. This is about moving objects, people, and money without touching them. That's what magic is. That's what magic is. Moving things without touching them. This is about moving objects, people, and money without touching them. Do you understand me? He slowed, or should I say, touching the invisible to move the visible. Touching the invisible to move the visible. The name of my book, Albert Piscotti wants to ask, the name of my novel is called The Dark Tour Company, and it's not out yet. I'm just reading something from it because I'm doing something different on my channel today. This is about moving objects, people, and money without touching them. Touching the invisible to move the visible. The front of the mansion is in the shot. Rex sits at a small black iron table. It's kind of like profiling, but in reverse. A miniature train track ran adjacent to the terracotta path leading to the mansion's entrance. A man sitting in a chair with a movie camera glides alongside Brennan. The green oaks and grass, the pink mansion, his yellowish tan skin and green eyes, everything around him screamed. The tall, listen to me carefully, the tall always see the deficiencies in little men. At least the ones who are not comfortable with themselves. They mix self-worth with height. In the pause, the camera shows Brennan ducking a tad to walk under a tree branch. He continues, bringing about much competitiveness on the part of Shorty over there. The camera cuts to Rex standing at the table he sat at earlier. And if Shorty has enough sense, Brennan said, he's been sizing the tall one up and down, looking for cracks in his surface. The camera zooms in on his face. I told you. I'm going to show you how to control someone, how to get into their minds and move their bodies. I'm going to show you how to move things, move people. I'm going to show you how to move things, to move people. He paused. The camera showed him raising himself on the balls of his feet, saying louder, how to move money. How to move money without touching it. He continues walking, illuminated limbs and green leaves, silver in the wind. Always, always remember, you can never know what is in their heads, but you can predict and prescribe. Let me check the time. My kid's going to be out at 8. You can never know what's in their heads, but you can predict and prescribe. Remember I talk about solving for the unknown in geometry? Not yet. It's not time to get the kid yet. I always talk about solving for the unknown in geometry. That's what the square and the compass is for, that the G is in Freemasonry. Always remember, you can never know what is in their heads, but you can predict and prescribe, or in the correct order, prescribe and then predict, like a doctor. Remember the witch's cauldron, the tears, the frogs, emotions, and things of the earth. A word planted here, a little cocaine here, a magazine there, a little vodka here, a telephone call there, or some ecstasy here, and a willing lady there. The trick is to have the target see the words and events as unbeknownst synchronicity. That is the secret. That is it. The trick is to have the target see the words and events as unbeknownst synchronicity. Part of his existential grid, part of the target, whoever the target is, part of their existential grid. He paused, arms crossed, right hand to his chin, which leads to patience. Jane, who's another character, leans against a headstone in the graveyard. The camera pulls back, showing that it's Val's headstone. His birth date is shown. However, Jane's arm is covering the death date. Patience is slow, beyond reason, she says. That's why it's a virtue. You've got to have patience to win the synchronicity game. I'll say it again. You've got to have patience to win the synchronicity game, especially if that game involves a crime. The camera zoomed in on the headstone on Val Moreau's name. Jane said, patience is supernatural. Being patient is riding a wave in tune with some primordial psychic strata of divine ordering, arranging, synchronicity. I'll read it again. A wave, you got to ride a wave in tune with some primordial psychic strata of divine ordering or arranging. The target will never have nor ever want patience, at least not in the sense that you will have it. And we are not talking weeks, months, or a few years worth of patience, but 120 years. Remember, the curse really began with Fisa's kidnapping. These people see the long game. Jane is standing now at Val's grave. A man slides a yellow box like a lawnmower over the grave, scanning for the body. Let me see what time it is. Whew, we got time. Jane continues. A crime perpetrated over generations. Everyone involved must be committed to secrecy and the end goal. I'll read it again. Everyone involved in this crime, must be committed to secrecy and the end goal. It is the goal, the cause. It must become in the hearts of everyone involved a cause worth dying for. A secret worth taking to the grave. The cause of survival for a family are for a religion like socialism. The Ezeli family, the question who or what will be the finale, the last step to wrap this 120-year money laundering scheme to its completion. I mean, if this or whatever it is, a money laundering scheme, the goal is to get the money. And the question is, when did they get it? And who are they? Okay, Brennan almost to the entrance, he says. Okay, back to moving and controlling. This is important because this is what happens to you. Back to moving and controlling. So imagine the target is short. Remember, the target is the victim. Let's look at the poor guy's profile. Besides being short, the guy is competitive. Remember, two faces. His competitiveness is the exoteric manifestation of something else. Everything has a seed. Coveting is the seed of lying. Anger is the seed of murder. These things move the man to use his competitiveness as a gas pedal to move him forward. When you've got him turned in the direction you want, you need the seed. You need the seed. This is what happens to our nation. This is what they are doing to us. To use the person's competitiveness as a gas pedal to move him forward when you've got him turned in the direction you want, you need the seed. The esoteric is the seed. If the competitiveness really is because he is short, he needs to be reminded of it day after day for years. To cultivate the plant, you need to water the seed. But again, we are still not at the root or the seed. The seed is pride. The seed is pride. All right, he's prideful and he's short. Being prideful isn't necessarily the same as taking pride in something. What does the target take pride in? Now you are a gardener. Cultivate to manipulate, baby, with calm, cool, and collect flattery. This is how you turn them and aim them in the direction you want them to go. The scene changes, showing Johnny driving Val in a canary yellow Stingray Corvette. Brennan narrates. Okay, now we have a steering wheel and a gas pedal. Oh, and let me stop right here. This stuff is not learned on the fly. You've got to do some studying. The answer to these questions, why is he competitive? And what does he take pride in? That'll be known far in advance. What kind of foods do they like? With heavy southern accent, he says, we gotta fatten up the pig for the slaughter. Johnny and Val are in a bar now. Johnny pushes a glass toward Val. There are other glasses there. Val is wasted. Johnny is not. He's the driver, remember? Animals are huntable, he says. They are predictable. When and why do they leave? Where do they go? You've got to learn these things. The crumbs for the chicken is not just scattered, but strategically placed to bring about or make manifested the desired outcome. Johnny leads Val to the car, holding him under his arm, helping him. Remember, the target is moved by desire and pride. The gardener waters that seed. Be the gardener. Desire becomes something when it is full grown. An apple seed turns into a tree, then into an apple, then back to a seed. The screen goes black. The music stops. There is no sound. Then Brennan's voice. Quieten your mind so that you can hear my words. I'll say it again. An apple seed turns into a tree, then into an apple, then back to a seed. The seed occupies such a small amount of space, then it grows, occupying, having more and more influence on and over its surroundings, like magic. To the metaphysical builder, to the speculative Freemason, this is magic. I've just explained it to you. Brennan walks slow on the second floor gallery's balcony. Lights in the oaks make shadows, a strange webbing of shadows across his face. In order to understand this, you must release your mind from science. Just for a while. This is the wisdom of kings. It is magic personified in a man like Merlin. Understanding gives counsel to kings before science, before the child was educated out of his wonder. Magic coaxed the seed forth. With the right words, the right emotions, the right resituating of conditions, the shoot becomes. This is the orchestration of coincidence. Hey, thank you so much, everyone, for joining me. It's time for me to go get my boy. And thank you so much for being with me on that trip. It was a lot of fun. I mean, we drove around and we saw some crazy things. Donna Leanne Gwynn, my appointment went great. Thank you. Melly Q, the book will be finished soon. I've got a due date of Christmas because it's going to be at Christmas. The White Rabbit, thank you so much. Ross McNally, thank you, all of you. All right, folks, I love you guys. Thank you. And I'm sure I'll see you in the morning when I warm up on piano and do my exercises. And I'll see you on the other channel too with news and commentary. See you guys later. Peace.